All right, here I am. Video number 2, and I promise you it won't be the last. Okay, I'm gonna get straight to the point here. I wanted to make this video as my second video because, well, I think it should clarify a few things for people who might wonder, where the hell am I? So, I am in Germany at the moment. I'm based in Europe. I work in Europe. I'm an American. I have my van in Europe. I'm doing van life in Europe. And I wanted to kind of go over a few things, specifically about how van life in Europe is different from van life in the United States of America. I can't speak for Canada, but I know pretty well the ins and outs of the rules, although I haven't done van life in America. I'm pretty acutely aware, seeing as I've absorbed tons of content and done tons of research in America about van life, although I'm actively living in Europe, living van life. Okay, let me get straight to the point. I'm going to go over a few aspects of the negatives of van life and kind of go over how those things are kind of translated in Europe versus America. And the first one, I think is the most important, is police. So I'll just get straight to it. Police don't bother you in Europe, specifically Western Europe. Uh, if you're in Spain, if you're in Portugal, if you're in Germany or France, cops have no reason to knock on your door. Cops have no reason to be curious about you in the first place unless someone calls the police on you because you're making too much noise, which is very common in Germany. No one cares. If you're specifically located in a place that isn't allowed for parking of vehicles, maybe someone would care. But if you're at a park that allows overnight parking, if you're anywhere that allows overnight parking, you can stay there in a van, in a car, truck, whatever you're using for your van life. That isn't specifically like a truck camp bed or an RV. You can park there, hop in the back of your vehicle. No one's going to bother you. I know in America, on the other hand, cops frequently kick people out of areas, sometimes kick people out of towns. I saw some video some time ago. I'll try to link it, or maybe I'll just throw a clip in here of this guy, pretty well known van lifer who is in a bread truck, I believe, getting kicked out of a whole town because they have an ordinance that's unconstitutional. That is insane. I don't know what to say about that. I mean, it feels so American to, one and call yourself the freest place in the world, and then also make draconian laws that completely go against what people believe in, or at least what people claim the Constitution is about. DUI. Now that's something that you should be aware of in Europe, but by country the rules are different. For example, in France, I could drink a beer in the back of my van and I wouldn't really have any concerns because if a cop did decide to knock on my door, the legal limit in France is pretty high, and on top of that, they don't, if you are of a certain limit, they just tell you to take a nap. At worst, you go into the drunk tank, but your record is fine. There's not going to be anything that's going to mess you up for a while. Like in America, where DUIs basically are life changing. You have to basically spend thousands of dollars and go through a lot of headache and pain after that DUI. In Europe, I can't think of a country in Europe where DUI is that bad. In Germany, it could be a bit more severe, but it's not as bad as America, not even close. And once again, there's no reason for a cop to pull you over or knock on your door to see if you're drinking or doing whatever you're doing. And once again, about the whole checkup thing, it just doesn't happen here. So let me go a bit more on stealth camping, which is kind of related to police activity because every city in Germany, every village, and most cities and villages around EU and Western Europe have rest stops, have not just rest stops, but basically just RV parking areas that the city's built on their dime, that they generally will charge zero to a very minuscule amount of money for you to park in. For example, the one I'm parked in right now charges zero, but if you want electricity, that's going to be €1 for 8 hours. So if you wanted to stay for the whole day, that would be 24 hours. That would be €3, which is pretty fucking cheap compared to what I've seen you guys pay in America. And that being said, there's no reason to stealth cap because every single location has somewhere you can stay. If you aren't staying at the village or city RV area, which are usually in pretty nice places, to be honest, usually they're pretty downtown, or they're by the river, or somewhere quite nice where you want to park your van and it's pretty safe. Um, there's free parking in a lot of places. You can, if you're doing van life, like I said, once again, and you don't have an RV or a camp truck bed, then you can basically park anywhere that allows parking, overnight parking, hop in the back of your vehicle, and no one's going to bother you as long as you're not, like, I don't know, blasting music or starting a barbecue. Just stay in your vehicle. um, that being said, you basically have highway rest stops as well. I know in America you all have the same thing, but here every single highway rest stop in Germany, and I believe every other EU state, allows you to stay there during the day and during the night and take a nap, go to sleep, get comfortable, put your pajamas on. No one's going to bother you. It's great. I know in America, U.S. highways basically have different rules by state. And no, I take that back. U.S. highways basically have the same rule, but state level is what actually operates the rest stops, I believe. And that varies by state. Some of them are very obscure and vague, where they basically have the ability to say you can't sleep there, even though they call it a rest stop. I don't know what they consider to be resting. They don't very specify. And then others give you specific time frames, like 12, 24 hours, which is something at least. At least they're giving you a few hours to take a nap and kind of get yourself together before you hit the road. But I really feel like it should just be a federal level thing. If you have a rest stop along the U.S. highway, it must allow, let's say, minimum 12 hours of rest. But I'm not a congressperson. I'm not the president. I can't change that. That's something that you guys will have to vote for. And there are churches here in Germany, and the churches of all sorts of deities in Europe, but it's not really necessary to park at them unless you are just a holy person that wants to go pray in the morning. But I know in America people do choose to park around Buddhist or Hindu temples because they usually allow them to park there for free and maybe even get a free meal in the morning out of it. All they have to do is go in and listen to a Buddhist monk talk about something, which is pretty chill. So yeah, we don't really do that here unless we're just actively being religious. Okay, so I'm going to try to speed through this video because I don't want it to be too long, but let's start to talk about water and shower situations. So I know for some people, the water and shower situation can be really tough in America. If you have a gym membership, shower shouldn't be a problem. Planet Fitness, Anytime Fitness, these places are open everywhere, all over Europe. I mean, all over America. I need some water. Gotta find some. And in Europe, we have other gyms that are pretty, not, I wouldn't say you can find some of these gyms all over Europe, but you can find them all over the country you're in. And outside of that, there are tons of locations that allow you to shower there for a very nominal price. You're not going to spend €10 for a shower, maybe 5, maybe less. And for water, you'll spend about €1 to fill up, I'd say. So it's very affordable. And I'm going to show you actually. I'm going to walk outside and show you all where you usually fill up for water and where you dump your waste. These are also located in most of these village and city designated RV areas. They're very affordable, €1. If you're dumping your waste, you don't even really have to pay. You just dump your waste. The city gains nothing from you dumping your waste in the forest. They want you to do it the right way, so they don't charge you. And when you want to use water, they make it as cheap as possible because the city or the country sees no benefit in you being thirsty. The capitalist incentive is just not there. They'd rather just have you park in their city, spend money in their city, buy food, I don't know, use their banks, etc. So that being said, water's not a problem here, but I know in America it can be a problem for many people because it's hard to find places to shower that are clean, etc., etc. Not in Europe, not even close. Okay, speaking of your electricity, now this is something that I do struggle with sometimes here as well. I have a battery in my van, I have solar, so unless there's a winter, unless the winter is coming through or it's just a really cloudy day, I'm gonna have electricity in my van, which is fantastic. And I know for you all, if you don't have an alternator charging your battery or solar, you're gonna be struggling. One second, I'm gonna go get some water because I'm dry. One second. All right, I needed that. Okay, back at it. Where were we? Okay, electricity, affordable. Generally, if you're at a rest stop, you pay 50 cents a euro. I don't want to go into kilowatts per euro, whatever, because it doesn't matter for you all. But about 50 cents per kilowatt. Yeah, that's basically it for Germany. It may vary by country, but it's pretty affordable everywhere you go. The same rate for a house, basically. So you should be conservative on how much electricity you use. In other words, don't turn everything on, and understand if you decide to cook something, for example, or turn your heater on for the whole night. At I don't know if your heater is pushing out anything more than 300 watts, then you're gonna probably spend a hefty amount of money just to keep yourself warm. That you should look into all the other ways to, warm yourself up. Basically, just put on a blanket and some pajamas. But if you really need to warm yourself up on a cold -10 day, it won't cost you more than €2 to stay warm the whole night. So, we're really going down this list. We're knocking it out. All right. Speaking of, I think a pretty important one is weird people. I hear so many horror stories and a lot of these videos about people who end up in situations where some deranged person or suspicious person or a creepy person follows them, harasses them, etc. And they feel trapped in their van. I'm not saying that these things don't happen in Europe, and I'm 100% sure actually they do happen. I mean, there's a very popular French-British YouTuber who had a creepy guy in Paris follow her around. These things happen, especially to women in Europe as well, but they're way less common in America. I have so many friends who are European who go to America for the first time, and they're just shocked by how much harassment they get in the street, how much harassment they get in cars. My best friend was in Atlanta with my family, and people just thought she was a hooker every time she walked on the sidewalk. It's insane. It's really insane. So, it's tough out there. It's tough out there in America for this problem. It's not so bad in Europe, but it's still a problem. It's going to be a problem everywhere you go, but most of the people that you run into here are retirees, so you're not going to see that many creepy people. And in the forest, you'll see full families. You won't really see that many people who are boondocking by themselves. You'll probably be the only one. So I'm going to kind of go on a bit of a monologue here because I wrote a bit down, but the difference really is that there's a social welfare system here in Europe, and so you don't really have to worry about homelessness to the extent of America. Homelessness does exist in Europe, mostly refugees, people who are destitute for some very specific reasons, but the population is much lower because there's a stronger social welfare system here. You might encounter a heroin addict in Barcelona or Frankfurt, without a doubt, but that is not going to be the majority of cities. It's going to be in very rare situations where cities just have large populations and a lot of drug problems. Most people simply aren't going to go through financial ruin and become addicted to hardcore drugs in Europe and then be forced into the street. If they are drug addicts, they'll have assistance. If they're in financial ruin, they'll be in government housing. There's some, if you're in Austria, you'll have a beautiful apartment for free. You'll be okay. In America, it's nowhere like that. It's nowhere close to that. And I feel for people. I really feel for people in America who have to struggle. There is no bottom. That is really the thing. There's no bottom. No one's going to catch you. There's not really a federal level system that will help you not reach starvation. So, an average middle class person could do everything right in America and lose their job and then become homeless. They could have 50 grand saved and they will maybe make it a year. It's really crazy. Of course, not everyone has this problem, but many people do. Or maybe they break their back and they get addicted to opioids, and it just goes down this vicious cycle, and they become homeless, destitute, drug addicts. It's really unfortunate how things work in America, and it creates this environment of people who are homeless, who are destitute, who need van life or something similar to survive because they have nothing else. Rather here, most people here are pensioners who have $150,000 RVs who just travel around Europe because they think it's fun. There are people who do it as a lifestyle to save money, like myself. But even people like that, like myself, probably have pretty good jobs. You're not going to really run into that many people here who are destitute and also van lifers. There'll be van lifers who make 1,000 or €2 a month who could get by just fine in Europe on that. Last but not least, I want to cover maybe something that happens to everyone, despite where you are, location-wise, and that is being the lone wolf, being lonely. You can't avoid it. People get lonely everywhere. All you can really do about it is do your best to find solace within yourself. Understand what makes you happy. Understand what makes you tick. Listen to that voice in your head and have that dialogue to really understand why you feel lonely. And once you've kind of accomplished that task, gone to this higher level of understanding of what you desire within yourself and for others, then engaging in hobbies and practicing a lifestyle that will attract people of similar hobbies and lifestyle is what you should focus on, So being a lone wolf is just a factor of van life unless you have a partner traveling with you. But it becomes way less lonely when you become comfortable with yourself being alone and you engage in activities where you can meet others. Okay, this video is going to be a bit long. It might be one of my longest videos I'll produce. And I'm going to edit some things down. I'm pretty sure I can knock a few things out and throw a few videos in just for reference as well. I do want to visit America. I want to go surfing. I want to have a great time there sometime in the future. So hopefully things will improve over there because I don't want to struggle there. As a veteran, I can find ways to get more assistance. But that's just for me. I want everyone to be comfortable and happy. I want everyone to experience van life safely and cheaply and not have to struggle with these basic things like finding a safe place to park, taking a shower. These things should just be provided by the county, state, federal government. We're the wealthiest country in the world, yet somehow, France is doing it better. What's going on? All right, out. Have fun.